It's time for
DodgerHeads. What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Anthony Witrado. Anthony, happy Sunday evening to you. How was your weekend?
Week was good, aside from the fact that I was at the Laker game yesterday and they laid an egg. But other than that, pretty good. Dodgers had a good week.
Yeah, I was going to say yesterday, bad day overall for Los Angeles sports teams. The Dodgers, of course, we're going to get into that. The Lakers. Happy Easter, by the way, to all who celebrate. I know we had Passover last week. We got Easter. So I know that's a big deal, at least in my household. So happy Easter to those who celebrate. But lots to get into tonight. We're going to debut a new segment, This or That, asking which of two competing narratives, if you will, kind of dominates your brain more than the other. We've got injury updates to Blake Snell and Blake Treinen. But let's start with today's game, Anthony. The Dodgers win. That's the good news. The bad news, Tyler Glasnow did not last very long in this one. And it wasn't because he was bad. It's because he was cramping. He lasts only 4 innings in this. He said the cramping started in the third. It got worse and worse. He's not sure why it happens. It's something that has happened before. It happened in Toronto last year. His ankles, calves, and feet lock up in both legs, more so in the right. What's when you were watching this game, and Tyler Glasnow, who we all know does not have the most stellar health history in the world, he has to get checked on. He stays in the game. He eventually comes out. Cramping feels like best case scenario, right?
Yeah. I mean, at first he thought it was like his forearm or his elbow, like based on sort of his movements and then kind of what you were hearing from the broadcast. And then it was like, oh, it's his ankle or something like that. And then it ends up being cramps. So of those 3, the cramps are the best case scenario there. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if that, hopefully that's all it is. There's always a little skepticism when you hear about whatever ailment the Dodgers players are going through. But if it's just cramps, he'll be fine. It's no good that he had to cut that start short because it was shaping up to be a really good one. And, you want to give the bullpen as much of a break as you can. But hopefully that's all it is. And he'll make his next start and all will be well.
Well, that's the key phrase. Hopefully that's all it is. This is what every Dodgers fan is currently going through, Anthony. Are we sure it's just cramping? I mean, it looked like an ankle at one point. It seemed like maybe it was something upper body. It turns out to be cramps. He says it's not a hydration thing. He says he's dealt with it before. Like, how much peace of mind do you have with the way that this has been reported, both from Glasnow himself, but also the sort of how the Dodgers have described what is happening? Like, can you rest easy tonight believing that in 6 days, Tyler Glasnow is going to be making his next start and we won't have any other scary medical updates?
I mean, I'll sleep okay. Tyler Glasnow's not going to bother me there, but it will be something that'll be sort of like, I think there's going to be a need to monitor this situation from the guys on the ground, the beat reporters, because honestly, he was not reacting like it was a cramp,
right?
Like the way he was moving around the ankle and kind of twisting the foot and rotating it. Like if it's a cramp, like you're trying to stretch it out, right? I mean, that's sort of what everyone who's ever had a cramp kind of does. And so for him to do whatever it was he was doing with that foot or that ankle, that didn't look like a cramp. My assumption was that as he went forward with the delivery, like maybe he lost his balance and it rolled it or something like that. But in the replay, never saw anything like that. And the way he, like, I mean, that was a pretty brisk walk, I would say, to the clubhouse as they showed him going through the dugout. And so I wasn't sure what that was all about either. Like, yeah, it was weird. So I'm not super worried about it at the moment, but I do think it deserves some follow-up from our boys on the ground there.
It definitely looked like he was trying to rotate his ankle, which, to your point, it wasn't like he was doing calf stretches and stuff like that, which is what you typically see in other sports. I suppose the good news in all of this, Anthony, is that the Dodgers won, of course. Glasnow did look good when he was on the mound. 4 innings, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, and of course, no runs allowed with just the 1 walk. The bullpen comes in, 5 innings, just 2 hits allowed, 1 walk, and then 5 strikeouts for the bullpen. So we've talked before, and we're going to get into the offense, folks. I promise you we're going to talk offense here in a second. But I feel like I'm going to beat this horse until it's beyond dead. You need 2 out of 3. You need good starting pitching, bullpen, or offense. If you get 2 out of 3, you're going to win a lot of games. Tonight, this afternoon, the offense was non-existent until Will Smith came into the game. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. We're just going to set that one to the side before we piss everybody off. But the starting pitching was awesome, and the bullpen was awesome. 9 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts for pitching. And ultimately, that's the story of this one. I know it wasn't pretty, and we're going to talk offense, but they got 2 out of 3 and yet another victory.
Yeah. Look, you want victories, especially when you're coming out of sort of a little bit of a downturn. You just want the W's. And if they come in 1-0 games, or if they come in 10-8 games, you're going to take them, especially the way the division is sort of going right now. It's slowing a little bit in some areas, and the Dodgers are right back, near the top of it. But yeah, I mean, the wins are what's important right now, and it's April. It's April 20th. They have plenty of time for this offense to get itself right and be what we all expect it to be. So yeah, I mean, for the moment, not a whole lot of panic there when they're getting the win. But yeah, you'd like to see it start to click here soon.
Yeah, exactly. I know the Padres are wrapping up a game against the Astros. If the Padres do go on to win that, they will have a half-game lead in the division. They're up 3-2 in the bottom of the 9th against the Astros, which is just like, is there a way for neither team to win? Is there a way for the games to cease to exist when the Padres play the Astros? Randy coming in off the top ropes with the super chat here. He says, Mud took Glasnow out last start. Cramps took him out today. I think he wears panties and not boxers. This guy will not win 10 games this year. $32 million pitcher. Randy, we appreciate the super chat. Not sure I agree with all the takes that are baked in here, but I think the point Randy is making, Anthony, the Mud took him out last time. Now it's Cramps. I mean, again, for a guy with the reputation he has, fair, unfair, deserved, undeserved, well, I'll leave that to the audience to decide. It's not an awesome look that it was the Mud one day and Cramps today. It's not an awesome look.
Well, let's call a spade a spade. He's asking if he's soft.
Yep, he is. And look, he's not the first Dodgers pitcher who's been called soft this year. So this is becoming a recurring theme. And, look, I hate labeling. We talked about this. I don't think like any professional athlete being labeled soft. I shouldn't say nobody should be labeled soft, but you have to cross a whole lot of thresholds for me to call you soft in this type of thing. I don't think Tyler Glasnow is soft. I think he's dealt with some gnarly injuries throughout his career, and that doesn't make him soft. I agree with the sentiment of what Randy is saying, which is it's concerning that he has been now taken out of games twice by something that is not major, I guess is the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fair. Like the Mud thing, I thought he could have handled 10 times better than he handled it.
Because it was mental, right? He even said, like, basically he got in his own head about being able to plant or not plant and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. We don't need to get we don't need to go all the way down that road about what happened in Philly. Like he handled it poorly on a lot of different fronts. And that inning in that game got away from him. And then today, if it was Cramps, like, look, every other sport essentially has like a timeout for a guy to get through that.
Yeah. And by the way, Cramps, if you've never had them, suck. Like, incredibly painful, not long term, but it's not something that you just sort of like, well, deal with this for the next 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll see how we feel.
Yeah, I mean, it will jolt you out of bed. You know, it'll stop you dead in your tracks if you're in motion, whatever. So yeah, and if he has something in his lower body like that, he can't pitch. Like he was not going to be able to pitch if they were cramps that were hurting like that. Like,
Yeah.
understandable. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I understand the sentiment of the comment. I'm just happy it's cramp. I mean, what is he supposed to do in that situation if that truly is what's happening?
Yeah.
Because again, in baseball, there is not that injury timeout where you can go and tend to a guy, get him right, and then send him back out. Unfortunately, you know, so the situation is I can't pitch right now. I don't know how this might last 5 minutes. It might last 10. It might be, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so the only option they had at that point is to take him out. And it looked like he lobbied to stay in, and like, you know, it kind of looked like that was the quick conversation there. But yeah, not ideal. He looked really good before it happened. So that's promising. He's looked good and very good, I thought, in his last 2 starts. So that's a positive. And if it was just cramps and he makes the next turn, then I expect more of the same. And you get a third outing like that where, let's say, he can go 6 and give up 2 or less. I mean, you're really starting to see a trend here with him of some really nice production, aside from some of the negative stuff that we're talking about with him right now.
Totally. And Randy says he's sorry. He's sorry for saying the Panties comment. But hey, Randy, the sentiment of the mud and the cramps, I think, is fair. So thank you for the 2 super chats. Thank you for clarifying that comment. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that's joining us live, by the way, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. If you're on YouTube, which if you're not on YouTube, head over to YouTube. That's the best place to watch and engage with us. Click the like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. Helps us in everything we're trying to build. And one quick programming note. I'm going to try and make this comment a couple times because I know we've got a lot of people that are loyal listeners. Normally, Anthony and I come on Tuesdays. This week, we're actually going to be on Wednesday. So no Tuesday show this week. It will be Wednesday this week. So just a programming note. I'll mention that a couple other times.
Yeah, tune into you can tune into our guys at Laker Nation on Tuesday because the Lakers have a big game.
Yeah, a massive game after how they took game 1. Stockton Slap with a couple super chats. How long do we give the offense to wake up? And then he says, it's time to shuffle the lineup. Try something. This was where I want to debut a new segment, Anthony, and it's called This or That. And I prefaced it with you, which is I'm not asking you to go 100% on one side or the other of a debate, but I'm going to ask you if you have 100% of your brain available to spend time thinking about something, does your brain have, like, which side gets more of the percentile? Are you 60% on one side of this debate, 40 on the other? And the first one is to Stockton Slap's point. When you think about the Dodgers right now, they've won 5 games of their last 6. They could have won all 6 if not for a Kirby Yates blown save. They would have been 6 in a row, 2 consecutive series sweeps. And yet the offense is not great. They scored 7 runs in 3 games in Texas. So for you, this or that, does your brain gravitate towards the hot streak? Hey, I'm feeling good. 5 out of 6 could have been 6 out of 6. Or does your brain gravitate towards and spend power thinking about, man, I have worries and concerns about this offense?
My brain right now in April would go toward the offense.
Okay.
Because it's been more than like just this week or something like that. It's been kind of most of the season now. Yeah. So I think it would be that for me. It'd be the offensive concern for sure. Every time they sort of start to show some signs of life, they have a little stretch there where it's like it goes right back to flatlining, and whether they're winning games or not. And now, granted, in some of these stretches, they have faced some really good pitching on the other side. Today was the same,
well, he looked good. Whether or not he's a good pitcher, I think is maybe the bigger. I mean, Maley is.
He's been good this season. He's been good this season. Like, just I understand I think his career ERA is like in the 4s or whatever.
Yeah, but
this was his 5th start this season. And he's been pretty good.
Totally.
Like at some point, you give the guy, you tip your cap to him for maybe figuring some things out. But I mean, and not that it's been incredibly hard to do this, but he made a lot of the Dodgers hitters look terrible today.
Yeah.
And the new dad included. So that is the concern for me. just because it just feels like every time they sort of start to get over that line or that hump, they just kind of fall right back down. It's like it feels like they're pushing the boulder up the hill, and they get right to the precipice, and it comes tumbling down.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I was trying to look up. So after today's, including today's game, as we sit here currently, the Dodgers offense is 11th in Major League Baseball in runs scored per game, 4.5 runs per game. They're 0.02 away from being 15th or 16th on this list for some context there. In the 3 games that we just saw, 5 hits, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, 2 grounded into two double play balls in the 3-0 win on, what was that? Friday. Saturday, 4-3 loss, 6 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. And then today, 1-0 win, 3 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. And yet, my mind gravitates towards the fact that they should be 6-0 in their last 6 games, if not for a Kirby Yates. And we can get into that because I know some people on social media had thoughts. But here's why I'm not concerned about the offense. I'm going to read you some really ugly numbers from some guys that I just have extreme levels of confidence will not be this bad for very long. In this series, Ohtani misses 2 games, goes 0 for 3 in this one. So you get no offensive production from Ohtani. Mookie Betts, 1 for 10. Freddie Freeman, 1 for 9. Teoscar Hernandez, 2 for 12. Michael Conforto, 1 for 10. Will Smith, 1 for 7. Max Muncy, 2 for 11. We could sit here all day, Anthony, and talk about how I joked that it was like a taunt move to put Rojas and Barnes at the bottom of the lineup just to see if you could still win with those 2 guys in the offense. And look, Austin Barnes first hit. Okay, due respect. But to me, the point is the Dodgers offense, the concern to me, and we had this debate 12 months ago, probably to the day. The concern for the Dodgers offense to me is always going to start with 1 through 6. And then 25, 30 minutes later, I might get to 7 through 9 and how much I'm concerned about them because they matter. Don't get me wrong. But if Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Hernandez, Conforto, Smith, and Muncy are, what'd they get? 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 hits. You got 8 hits from your 7 best hitters in 3 games in this series. That's why I'm not concerned because I have no fear that those guys are eventually going to figure it out. And so I don't know if this line of thinking resonates or makes sense, but because they were bad with their best guys being bad, they'll figure it out. I'm not worried.
Look, I'm not worried that they're not going to figure it out. But if we're talking about where my brain goes,
Sure.
it's the offense because, again, it's not a concern when you boil it down to these 3 games.
Right.
When you boil it down to the end of March through April 20th, you do kind of start to wonder when things are going to click for just the offense as a whole, not even that this one particular player needs to step it up.
Yeah. And for some context as well, heading into this series, the Dodgers had the 7th best offense in Major League Baseball. And at that point, we could have sat here and we could have said, hey, 7th best in baseball. Mookie missed time and was coming back. Freddie Freeman had missed a bunch of time. 7th best in runs scored per game. That's not bad considering who you've been missing at the top of the lineup. Obviously,
I also don't think that's a great indicator of who you are offensively.
They should be better, no doubt. But like, if I started this segment by saying they're 7th in baseball in runs scored, I think there would be a little bit less. I'm not saying people are panicking. I think there'd be a little less concern because you'd say that's not great, but like 7th sounds a lot better than 15th.
Again, though, I don't like that. I don't like the runs scored stats, even the rate stats for that, because it's like if you put up the Dodgers did a lot of this last year too, and they were the best offense in baseball, but like that runs per game stuff was to me not a great indicator either, because they would, and we're seeing it this year, like where you might score 8 runs one night, and then over the course of the next 2 games you score 3, and if you mash all those together over your last 3 games, you got a pretty good average runs per game.
Yeah. So what number? I mean, what number do you look at? Like, is OPS a more helpful number? Like when you're trying to gauge an offense beyond the Matthew Moreno eye test,
sure. Like OPS plus.
Because I will say that the nice thing about the Dodgers is, as we've got a super chat that just pointed out, don't care 187, 0 10-run games for the Dodgers, Muncy 0 home runs. But to your point, the Dodgers they have the outlier runs against number with the 16-0 loss they had. But realistically, I mean, they haven't scored more than 8 runs in any game at any point this season.
No. I mean, and they will at some point.
100%.
They will. But there's also there's a lot of 2s and 1s and a couple zeros in there too.
Yeah.
And so, to say like it's just a run scored thing I think can be misleading. And I think for this offense, that can be the case. I would say like something I would look at as a better indicator would be like OPS plus, weighted runs created plus, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like for me, runs per game is like it's as telling as like pitcher wins.
Yeah. Okay.
Because again, you could win a game 2-0. You could lose a game 11-10.
Yeah. 10th in weighted runs created plus so far this season, 7th in OPS. And again, Fangraphs sometimes I never know when they update, so that might include today. That might not include on the weighted runs created plus. But
I do wonder where they were going into that Rocky series. Yeah,
it's fair because I mean, obviously they didn't score a ton of runs in this particular series. We just talked about 7 runs in 3 games. But I mean, even the Rocky series, 5, 6, and 8. So I mean,
yeah, but they had 30-something hits in that series.
Yeah, fair. All right, some super chats. Randy points out the Reds scored 24 today. LOL. It was the Orioles, I think.
Oh boy,
is that right? No, yeah, the Orioles. The box score was hilarious. Somebody pointed this out, so let me pull it up. The Orioles pitchers, they had 5 guys throw in this game. 7 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 5 earned runs, and 4 earned runs. That was against
players.
I mean, I'd have to Google some of these guys. Let's see. Jorge Mateo, he's a shortstop, so he pitched. Is that Gary Sanchez? Hell yeah, it's Gary Sanchez. They got 2 innings out of position players. CNL Perez, yeah, he was a reliever. So the first 3 were relievers. The first 3, Charlie Morton. Hate to see it happen to a former Astro. Just a terrible thing. 2 1/3, 7 earned. But yeah, that just cracked me up. 7, 5, 3, 5, and 4 earned runs for all those guys. So
brutal.
Just need a little bit of that. Do we want to do the Gavin Lux segment now, Anthony, or do you want to wait on the guy who's hitting 319 with a 427? Oh, we'll just table it. Okay, we'll table the Gavin Lux discussion. Sorry, folks. I know a lot of people were waiting for that one, but stay tuned. D Nation Life says, weren't the last 3 games against the 3 potential best pitchers in the AL right now? I mean, DeGrom, where you think he's at in his career, I'm probably lower on where Jacob DeGrom is today than where he used to be. Eovaldi's good. To your point, like Maile has been good. So I wouldn't say 3 potential best pitchers in the league. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think the point is fair that you face 3 guys who, I mean, Maile's got a 0.68 ERA, so he's been better than Yamamoto for context in the earned runs department. So maybe we say 2 good pitchers and 1 guy who used to be really good. Do you think that's fair, Anthony?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's fair. DeGrom is not what he used to be, but he's not a bum either. He's got a 3.3 ERA. So yeah, I think it's fair to say they face good pitching in this series.
Yeah, fair. Laura says, Dodgers not living up to the hype yet. Will that change is the real question. I have no concerns this offense will figure it out.
Zero concerns.
Yeah.
And it depends on your definition of hype as well. Because what's their record now after today?
16-7.
I mean, if you say going into opening day, they're going to win 16 of their first 23 games or whatever it is.
113 win pace.
You're like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now I understand Laura's context here is that offense isn't right, yada yada, bottom of the order, all of that stuff. I get and she's not wrong, and I totally understand that. But the wins are still there. They're still stacking wins. And if it weren't for a team like the Padres just being white hot right now, the Dodgers might have who knows? They might have a 3 or 4 game lead on the second place team, and all feels a whole lot better.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I've always thought a lot about this. Doing this show has been really good for me as a fan because you're kind of forced to analyze both the micro trends and the macro trends on a regular basis. It's like, how do you zoom out and say, hey, it's a 162 game season, folks. It's Sunday in April, and the 3 games, 7 runs they scored is not the bigger picture. While at the same time recognizing they did just score 7 runs in 3 games, and there are micro trends that become macro trends, right? And so for me, one of the things that I've started to think about and realized, having done this show consistently, over the last 5 years, is that we forget, when we look back on a season like 2024, we forget that for your pitching numbers to get to where they eventually end up at the end of the season, there were peaks and valleys. And so there were long stretches where the Dodgers were actually a much better pitching team than what the final numbers will suggest at the end of the year. And there were stretches where they were much worse. And so the way you get to 112, 113 wins is not that your offense hits 300 every single game for 162 games. You're going to have games like the Reds today where you score 24 runs, and then you're going to have games where you score 7 in 3. And what makes a great team is, can you win the games when you score 7 runs in 3 games? And they almost swept it. And so, yes, the offense is down now, but all that means to me is, holy crap, at some point there's going to be like a 40 runs in 3 game stretch coming up for the Dodgers, and everything's going to even itself out over the course of 162 games.
Yeah, I don't believe that those top 6 guys just stopped playing baseball and forgot how to do what they do best.
8 hits. And Ohtani, that's somewhat misleading because Ohtani played 1 of the 3 games, but still 8 hits from Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Teo, Conforto, Smith, and Muncy.
Yeah.
Not sustainable.
I see some of the folks just, kind of saying like, you have zero concern about this. Like, yeah, because they're going to figure it out. Now, if they were not hitting the ball well and not pitching well, then obviously these are bigger concerns. But if they were not hitting well and also losing a lot more games, like if they were 500, then this changes the conversation, because you have different context now. I think the context that we're currently dealing in, and yes, the Padres are there. So we can't, the hypothetical of like, if the Padres weren't that good, the Dodgers would be this. I understand that they are there. They're also playing as good a baseball as they have played since this iteration of their organization.
Yeah.
And if you think that they can continue to play at a 120 win pace or whatever they're at, I would tell you to go put some money down. Because I don't think anyone else believes that they're going to do that over the course of the entire summer. And the Dodgers are a half game behind them, and the Dodgers are not playing well. I think we can all agree on that. They're winning, but they're not playing really good baseball yet.
No, absolutely.
Because I still believe that they will.
Totally. 300 with a huge super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you to everybody in here. Thank you especially to the super chats. Points out the Dodgers have played 5 games against the first place Cubs, 3 against the first place Phillies, 3 against the first place Tigers, 3 against the first place Rangers, and 3 against the Braves. We are okay, folks. Also, the worst team in Major League history, the Rockies, but that doesn't detract from the point. There's context needed here, right? Yes, they haven't played the Padres, they haven't played the Giants, but Cubs, Phillies, Rangers, Braves, Tigers, like that's probably about as difficult of a schedule. I can try and look up like opponent win percentage, but I imagine, Anthony, this is among the most difficult schedules anybody has played this season, right?
I would think so. And not just team-wise, but they faced those teams' best pitchers.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, well, this isn't going to get me expanded. I can't, somebody find it. Somebody tell me what the opponent win percentage is, because I can't find it here. But yeah. So second best record in baseball, by the way, the Dodgers have, despite playing all those teams. So I agree. We're okay. They've won 16 out of 23. To your point, sometimes I think we let the wins and losses dictate our emotions more than, like, we have to decide, right? Do we base our emotions off of what they look like or whether or not they win? And I'm the one that's the first one to be guilty when things are bad, but they're winning games. I'm like, hey, folks, focus on the wins and losses and just stay there. And then when they're losing, it's like, you know what? The offense is right there. The pitching is right there. We're close. So I'm a hypocrite in that way. I'll be the first to admit it.
I will say this to build off of what you said a second ago. Going back to last year, if we remember back, we had these exact same conversations at several points during the season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree. Totally agree. So 300, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. David says, hey, Dodgers, good plan. Rotating starting pitchers by putting them one on the IL, bringing one back from the IL. Well played. They're doing it in the bullpen potentially too. We're going to talk Blake Snell and Blake Treinen, but who knows? I mean, before we dive in, we don't have to go there all the way, Anthony. Do you think there's any part of Snell and Treinen just sort of saying, hey, go catch your breath? Snell, I'm skeptical because we're going to talk about the fact that they have a bullpen game coming Wednesday, but Treinen, I don't think I'd need a ton of convincing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Dodgers have really found a market inefficiency on being the best at IL manipulation.
Allegedly, Anthony. Allegedly. Okay. Yeah. So just go easy on that one. Go easy on that one because you can get in trouble for that kind of thing nowadays. We wouldn't want to mess with that. So, David, we appreciate the super chat. All right. Let's do 2 minutes on this. Kirby Yates, any issues for you the other night coming into that game? He had pitched the night before, perfect, 2 strikeouts, comes back the next one. I had lots of people saying against his old team, this wasn't a good decision, 2 days in a row. Your thoughts?
No, not a lot of concern. He just didn't have it. It looked like, maybe pitching that back-to-back day kind of, had some fatigue there and with in terms of where he was locating. But I'm not overly worried. Bad outing, and with not a lot of room for error, given that the offense wasn't hitting, and so it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But no panic button on Kirby Yates.
Okay. Same. He was like, people were like, don't do this to him against his former team. I'm like, he literally pitched against his former team the night before and was perfect with 2 strikeouts. Coming into that game, he had struck out 50% of the guys he had faced. Somebody in my comments said it best. I thought sometimes a loss is just a loss, and there isn't like a huge. There's nothing more complicated about it than that. I know it's easy to explain. We like to grab onto something like this was a mistake. Vesia should have been left in. Whatever. I think he was really good, and that's just what it is. Yeah, I can't figure out. I was trying to find the strength of schedule thing, and I'm looking at something, and I have no idea what I'm looking at, so I'm just going to move on. Okay, 2 more this or that topics for you. These will be quicker. Let's talk Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Have you heard of him, Anthony? He's a pitcher. He plays for the Dodgers. People.
He's one of the Japanese guys that everybody was upset with the Dodgers about getting, right?
Yeah, they overpaid for him, I think. I think it's sort of the guy. But this or that, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Where does more of your brain go to? Does more of your brain go towards, holy crap, may or may not have looked at the Cy Young Award odds the other night, may or may not have been 5-1, may or may not have placed a wager, or, hey, let's temper expectations. He's been good, 0.93 ERA, but it's still a very small sample size for a guy who's got less than 120 innings pitched at the major league level. Again, you don't have to go all in, more or the other, one or the other, but more like which side do you gravitate more towards? Which side of Anthony's brain is more in? I'd phrase that terribly. Which side of your brain? Oh God! Which side of this argument is your brain more in? Holy smokes! I'm going to stop talking. Drink my iced tea that masquerades as whiskey over here.
I'm ready to crank up the Cy Young machine.
Let's go.
Let's do it. This guy's one of my favorite players. He has been since last year. Jeff is well aware of that. I'm all in on him. And I said at the beginning of the season that I thought Snell would be the best candidate on the Dodgers to get Cy Young votes. And that was not based on what I thought in terms of Yamamoto's effectiveness. It was more like how they would handle him.
Yeah.
And would he have enough innings and starts under his belt to really be a serious threat to that? Look, if the number of starts he makes is in the low 20s, and this is, the ERA will go up a bit. It'll start to.
You're not predicting a 0 at the beginning of his ERA this season. Is that the take?
Not quite, but I think there's the potential for it to be not too much higher than that. Okay. I think if he has something in the 1s or low 2s, I think that's not completely out of the realm of possibility for a guy like him. And the reason why, like I do, is because watching him pitch, he looks like a different pitcher than he did last year. And he was good last year. And it looks like this second year, he's just so much more comfortable, so much more poised, a lot more confident. Like you can almost see that coming through the TV screen.
Yeah.
And when you get a guy who's that good, that talented, has that kind of stuff, and who now believes that he can get the guy out that he's throwing to every single time, every single start, that goes a really long way. And so far, he's showing that kind of, he's got that vibe about him right now. So in the tempered expectations part, the only thing for me is like, keep this guy healthy.
Yeah. Well, and look, I've said this before. He averaged 183 innings pitched per year in the 3 seasons in Japan prior to coming over. So I know what we saw was a guy who threw 90 something innings or 100 innings or whatever it was in 2024. But historically, on a weird rotation, all that kind of stuff, like he has been durable. So that's worth pointing out.
Yes.
I've quoted similar stats, but I'll throw these at you. Since the beginning of last season, if you just ignore the Seoul series and start 2024 counting stats when everybody other than the Dodgers and Padres started counting stats last year, he has the second best ERA in Major League Baseball over that stretch. Basically, take out his first Major League start, guys who have thrown a number of innings he has thrown. He's second in Major League Baseball. He's third best in FIP, fielding independent pitching. So this isn't a fluke. It's not like there's luck involved here. This year, he has a .93 ERA. 12 strikeouts per 9, just about. He has the second best expected ERA based on batted ball value, that kind of thing, behind just Paul Skeens. And so I'm buying it. I may or may not have bought into a little bit of plus 500 action with Yamamoto for Cy Young stuff because, look, I think Skeens is a monster, and he's the guy that scares me the most. But if it's not going to be Skeens, I think Yamamoto would have to be the favorite. A couple things he's done. So tweaks this year compared to last year. He's replaced his 4-seamer with a sinker when he faces righties. So he has upped sinker usage to righties compared to last year. And he's also throwing a little bit more split action. So it's like 5% more splitters than he threw last year, which seems like a decent idea, Anthony, when that pitch is being whiffed at 51% of the time that guys are swinging at it. So he's a monster. I mentioned the durability. You brought up starts. Here's a number for you, Anthony. If you look at Cy Young voting last year in the American League, the 10 guys who finished at the top of voting, 2 of them were relief pitchers. Kirby Yates, by the way, 8th on that list for anybody that was curious. Of the 8 starting pitchers that finished in the top 10 in the American League, nobody had less than 28 starts last year. In the National League, if you look at the top, it looks like 13 is what they're giving me here. Nobody had less than 25 starts except for Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens finished 3rd with just 23 starts, but Sale had 29, Wheeler 32, Cease 33, Imanaga 29, Webb 33, King 30, Hunter Green 26, and then it goes on from there. So I think if you were going to be skeptical of Yamamoto's Cy Young candidacy right now, that would be it, right? Is can he make 28 starts? That feels like maybe a number that he's got to get close to. Can he make 28 starts to be in this?
I don't know. And that's where my concern lies. And that's why I chose Snell as the guy who might get the most points from a Cy Young ballot, is because I think that could be held against them. I also think there's a couple of things going against him. Yeah. Even if he, let's say he makes 23
so real quick, I did the math. If you do a 6-man rotation for 162 games, it's 27 starts. Now he could tack on an extra one because of the Seoul series where he was basically able to start, 2 of the first 3 or 4 games that the Dodgers had this season. So for what it's worth, 26, 27, 28 is probably where this lands.
So one, that's assuming he never misses a start. And it also assumes that the Dodgers don't look for ways to get him extra rest, like in or out of All-Star break, or, maybe saving him until they come back from a Thursday off or a Monday off, or, that kind of stuff, like manipulating the rotation a little bit for him, which could shave off a few starts.
Yeah.
Either way, he's got a couple of things I think that go against him that are completely out of his and the team's control.
Okay.
And some of this is me talking as a fan, and some of this is me talking as what I see from a national sort of talking head bubble.
Okay.
One is outside of Ohtani, because he does things that you just can't ignore, I think there may be some bias against Dodger award getting.
Yeah.
If
Dodgers
that's
fatigue.
yeah, exactly. And well, you should be this good. You're the highest paid right-handed pitcher, or whatever his number is. Or well, yeah, you really you pitch behind that lineup, and it's going to be easier for you. And like all of this stuff that sort of doesn't really make sense, but there's going to be some of that, I think. And so the national narrative, when it comes to him, might be tamped down a little bit. And here's the part of that other reason why, and this is the second and probably more important thing that I think he's going to be facing against, is the love affair with the national media with Paul Skeens.
Yeah. A justified one, by the way. I don't know. I'll say for me, when I say love affair with Paul Skeens, I'm not saying it's an undeserved love affair, because it's
not at all. And he's great. He's been great so far. And he deserves the hype. He really does. With that said, though, even if Yamamoto, like, let's say these are the two guys going into September who are the front runners.
Yeah.
Yamamoto, in my opinion, right now, has to distance himself so far ahead of Skeens that it's like head and shoulders, no doubter, the way Ohtani did it from an offensive standpoint last year as a DH.
Yeah.
Because MLB is doing everything in their power to get Paul Skeens front and center. They want him to be one of the faces of the league, rightfully so.
Yeah.
The guy's been great, and he's charismatic as hell, and he's got Libby Dunn next to him, and all of those things, right? Like he's that dude. Yeah. Yamamoto is not that guy in that way on a national stage right now.
So you're saying he's got to start dating Sabrina Carpenter, if that rumor was true or not true? Maybe just get a little of that action in his life.
Or maybe get his dog more on his Instagram. I don't know, something. But I think when it comes down to the voting, there's going to be the Dodger fatigue, like you called it. I think that's a really good way to put it. And then I think there's going to be the Paul Skeens love affair, which could work against Yamamoto, because I think if things are even, everyone came into this season, I think, expecting Paul Skeens to win the Cy Young Award.
Yeah.
And so if he's in that running down toward the end, I think people will just start writing his name in on the ballot with 3 or 4 starts to go.
Yeah. And if Yamamoto makes, 6 or 7 less starts than Paul Skeens does, 6-man rotation, I think could work against him. So something to keep an eye on there. Okay, next one, this or that, last one. Roki Sasaki. 6 innings the other night, Anthony. Are we encouraged by a line of 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned from Roki Sasaki getting into the 6th inning? You could argue we could have gone into the 7th inning of that one. Or are we concerned because the fastball velocity was like 93 miles an hour for the first few innings? And while the box score doesn't reflect it, he had 9 hard hit balls against him in 6 innings. He got outs on 110, 104, and 103 mile an hour exit velocities in this game. Where does your brain go to first?
It goes to the encouragement.
Okay.
Because of where things started for him and how ugly it had gotten before it started to trend this way. And so if he's going to have to rely on a little luck every once in a while to get that line to look the way it does, then fine. Because before there was, no chance to get through like 4 innings.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about like, he's getting a little more efficient. He's in the zone a little more. He's going to start being able to have the pitch count to a point where, like, if they wanted to send him out for a 7th inning, they possibly could, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He got some defensive help, which is interesting to say, from the Dodgers right now. But I think when you consider where things were coming from, where they started to what they ended with yesterday, it's encouraging. There is concern, the velocity, the exit velocity on some of the batted balls, all of that stuff. But every pitcher is going to rely on some luck at some point. While he's gaining his confidence and he gets that, tuck it in your back pocket and you use it, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, one of the stats you and I have talked a lot about on this show that was, I think, the most encouraging number, and I know you reposted this on social media, 16 of 22 batters he faced, he got a first pitch strike against. Yeah. And that's the key.
That's not luck. And that's not luck.
Yeah, exactly. That's on him. Now, do you buy, like, so velocity-wise, we mentioned, he's been averaging 96-ish. It was 93, 94 to start this game. He said afterwards he was surprised himself by the low velocity numbers. He was able to make some mechanical adjustments, it sounds like, and then the velocity kind of got back to quote-unquote, at least to his average by the 5th or 6th inning in this one, which I think there was some encouragement. There was some debate online, like, was he slowing himself down to just try and throw more strikes?
That's what I thought.
Okay. So talk me through that.
Watching him, I was in that camp. He looked a lot more deliberate. And in those first few innings, like, I don't want to say he was aiming the ball because that never works, but it just felt like he was a lot slower and not cutting it loose.
Yeah.
And when I saw what the velo numbers were, I kind of started to watch him because for what we were learning, the early returns on him, if you watch every start, his mechanics play a significant role. I mean, they do for everybody, but him especially, given, I think, sort of maybe his body type, his size, how tall he is, and the way sort of he kind of his slot, I think, has something to do with it too. So for him, mechanics really impact his command and his velo a lot more than some other guys. And when I saw that the velo numbers, I started to watch him a little closer from a mechanical standpoint, and it looked very deliberate to me. Like, for me, that was the best way to describe it. I think as he got more comfortable in the game, he started to cut it loose. And maybe he didn't feel like it might have been a subconscious thing where, like, he was slowing himself down a little bit to make sure everything was right. Like, it's like if you're bad at golf, like all of us are probably, and you step up to the ball and you're like, okay, I got to do this. And then when I get to hear the club should be right, you're like in your head about it. Yeah. It almost looked like that's what he was doing with his pitching mechanics.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, because on one hand, we're talking 96 to 94. So can you really be like, hey, let me just take 2 miles an hour off of this? Like, I'm thinking if I try and throw, I'm losing a lot more than 2 miles an hour, especially off guys that are throwing that hard. But it worked. It was effective. And his fastball, we've talked about, is actually not that great of a pitch. So at 94, it's a worse pitch. But if you're throwing it for more strikes, it's probably a more valuable pitch if it's in the zone at 94 than if it's kind of erratic at 96, 97. So I think we just talked about Yamamoto. That's the blueprint here. Like, watching what they did with Yamamoto, they brought him along slowly. I think he threw basically as many sliders in his 5th start, Sasaki did, as he had thrown in the 4 prior total. So they are slowly building up his repertoire. They're saying at first it's fastball splitter, stay there, fastball splitter. Then it's, hey, let's start mixing in the slider a little bit more. Now we can just let it go with the slider. I think the trend is headed in the right direction. I'm still patient. I'm still not like ready to put the stamp on and say locked and loaded, ready to go, kind of how I am with Yamamoto. But I'll be curious to see how this progresses. But based on what they did with Yamamoto, I think I'm overall encouraged by what we've seen from Roki Sasaki so far. Yeah. So couple more segments to get to. I want to do a programming note one more time for those that are just hopping on. Anthony and I normally do Tuesday nights. We will be on Wednesday night this week. So stay tuned for that. Wednesday night, Laker game Tuesday night. We will be on Wednesday night. Head over to our sister site, Lakers Nation, and Anthony said on Tuesday night for Trevor Lane and the guys covering that one. As for the Dodgers, let's get to a couple key injury updates. Let's start with Blake Snell, and then we'll get to Blake Treinen. We know he's on the injured list with some shoulder pain. You tell me if this is good news or bad news to you, Anthony. He said pain lingers here and there in his shoulder, usually when he first gets up in the morning. He still has that pain, but this was the quote, once I get throwing, I'm good. When I play catch, I don't feel it. When I get out here, I'm good. It's like when I wake up, I got to get going. There's still no timetable for facing batters or a rehab assignment. But when you hear A, that he still has pain in his shoulders, but B, it's only in the morning, and once he starts throwing, he feels fine. How does that make you feel?
The waking up with soreness would be less of a concern because I think they could figure out and then figure out what's causing it a little better and start to manage it. But when you couple that with the fact that they don't have a timeline for him yet, that's concerning. And that, to me, reeks of like, we hope we get him back around the All-Star break.
Yeah. It could be slow playing. I mean, Blake Snell joked about he's just old. That's why his shoulder hurts in the morning. Obviously, when you pitch and you're getting paid the amount of money that he is, you would hope that his shoulder feels a lot better than mine and your shoulders feel when we wake up in the morning. I'm choosing to be patient and saying, hey, we're playing the long game here. I don't need Blake Snell in May or June or even July. Like, let's just get this guy back and firing in August, September, give him a runway to be available in the postseason. So the optimistic side of me, Anthony says they're just taking every precaution and hoping for the best on that front. We'll see how that one goes. Blake Treinen, the other injury update, he was sort of the surprise added to the injured list guy this week. A low-grade forearm sprain. He will have more tests in LA. Again, no timeline for his return. Dave Roberts said there is no surgery needed and, quote, we certainly dodged a bullet on this one. The plan for now is rest and rehab. Where are you at? Does this feel like a phantom IL? Hey, old guy, Evan Phillips due back pretty soon. Let's just take a few weeks off, couple months off, Blake, and we'll see you for 7 outs in Game 5 of the World Series.
I think it's a little bit of both. Because Treinen hasn't been incredibly sharp to start the season, and he's been leaned on a lot because of some of the injuries with the leverage guys. So he's been called on a lot more. But he has not been super sharp. He's been effective, but he hasn't been the Blake Treinen that we've come to expect.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a little bit of both here in that there's some reinforcements coming so they can afford to maybe do this with him now. But also the fact that like he has not been as effective as we expect Blake Treinen to be.
Yeah. To me, this feels, again, I'm an optimist. If you haven't picked that up already, take a break, buddy. We're good. We don't really want a DFA. I mean, Luis Garcia, I know he's not the most popular guy. We don't want to lose him from the organization. Jack Dreyer's pitching great. Kasperius has been good except for like one bad outing. Let's just take a deep breath, Blake. Go take your rest. Evan Phillips is coming back, and then Kopech will be back eventually. So that's the optimistic side of me. The pessimistic side of me is older reliever, forearm stuff. Bad news, bad news, bad news. We'll see how this one ultimately plays out. Plan for the week ahead. Well, let me do one thing. There's one other storyline that I joked with you that I wanted to talk about. And I want to do a little plug for Dave Roberts' appreciation today. I don't know if people in the chat have seen the story involving Ronald Acuna from yesterday. Somebody sent it to me. I don't expect everybody to be totally dialed into what's going on in Atlanta, especially when the team's as much of a mess as it is. But Jared Kelenic basically hits a ball, pimps it like it's going to be a home run. It goes off the wall. By then, he's not even to first base yet, so he tries to bust it to second, gets thrown out. So he doesn't even get on base because he was pimping a home run. Brian Snitker was asked after the game if he said anything to Kelenic, and his response was, quote, was I supposed to? ? Ronald Acuna of the Braves, teammate to Kelenic, Snitker is his manager, posted on Twitter, quote, if it were me, they would take me out of the game. That tweet was eventually deleted. Snitker was asked about it. This might be nothing. And I don't even really want to talk about Snitker and Acuna and Kelenic. Here's my point, Anthony. I read that story, and it made me appreciate Dave Roberts because you know what kind of BS never happens in the Dodgers clubhouse? This stuff. And again, I'm not saying it's Snitker's fault. I think tweeting if you're Acuna is pretty dumb, even if you have a point. My point is this stuff never happens with the Dodgers. There's never the bickering. There's never the public nonsense. To me, I just read it, and I said, you know what? I'm grateful that Dave Roberts is my manager.
Yeah, I think there's Acuna. Acuna is probably correct. He is correct because he has been benched for doing that. Circumstances are a little bit different between who he was then and who the guy is now, Kelenic, who did it this time. I feel like it's kind of a non-story. I feel like it's a non-story on the Braves side. Like I thought it was interesting that someone asked Snitker about it. In reading, it was a radio guy who asked the question.
Yeah, and Snitker said today, by the way, that like he must have been doing something else because he basically said I didn't even see it. Yeah.
And he said Kelenic walked into his office this morning when he got to the clubhouse on his own and apologized.
Yeah.
So the circumstances here are a little different between what Acuna was going through in 2019 when this happened and now. And on the Dodgers side, the Dodgers have a really veteran clubhouse.
Yeah.
Not a lot of those guys are up on social media a lot. Maybe some Instagram stuff with their kids or their dogs and that kind of thing. But like not a lot of just like troll posting or like engaging with fans. It's a veteran clubhouse. They're not really doing that. And the culture is a lot different, right? Like there's a Dodger culture that is sort of becoming famous or infamous depending on what side of the Dodger fandom you stand on. But I don't think like there's not things that come up. They just don't get out. And Acuna, for as great as he is, and for as much as he has matured as a baseball player, he's still kind of an immature guy at sometimes. And this was one of those situations where like, dude, you don't put that out there in public. Like I understand like you were probably frustrated like when you saw that, but like you don't need to tweet that out.
Oh, yeah. The Twitter thing's dumb. And again, my point in bringing it up is I don't care. I have no opinions about Ronald Acuna, the person. I have no opinions about Jared Kelenic. I have no opinions about Brian Snitker. It's just as a Dodger fan viewing everything through the lens I do, I'm like, you know what? Shout out to Dave Roberts because we are never talking about this kind of nonsense on this show.
No, you're very right about that. And I will say the Dodgers aren't alone in this. Like a lot of teams, like you don't get these kinds of situations. It's like, it's always kind of the same teams and the same guys, right? Jazz. But like, you're right. Like Dave Roberts and has had a lot of help in building that clubhouse culture. He's obviously one of the leaders in doing so, along with other guys, Mookie, Freddie, Kershaw. As much as the chat might not want to hear it, Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, those guys too. And it's known around the league what they have for a reason. And it's why guys want to go there.
Yep. And apologies. It's Kelnick. So sorry to Jared Kelnick.
I never pronounce his name wrong. Right.
Never pronounced. The E gets me. The E stuck in the middle of that one gets me every time. Okay. Let's talk briefly. Week ahead. Dustin May on Tuesday. The other piece of news is Wednesday. Likely a bullpen game, according to Dave Roberts. Dodgers have no game Monday, no game Thursday. Again, Dustin May slated to pitch on Tuesday. We talked on this show. The only guy they could bring up because of sequencing on the IL would be Justin Robleski. Knack and Bobby Miller couldn't be recalled. Not that Bobby Miller front. I'm not sure anybody wants him recalled. But Gonsolin expected to pitch again in Oklahoma City, although we did hear that with Evan Phillips, and then he was returned when Blake Treinen went on the injured list. So what are your thoughts about a possible bullpen game on Wednesday? Do you believe, Dave, that it's going to be a bullpen, or do you think we get a note on Wednesday morning that a guy like Justin Robleski or Tony Gonsolin has been recalled?
I think it depends what happens Tuesday.
Yeah. How many innings do they need from Dustin May before this becomes a go get me a starter?
The bullpen has to throw no more than 3.
Okay.
For it to be a bullpen game the next day, I think.
What's interesting to me is when you look at the bullpen, they have guys who can give them a little bit of length. Like if Ben Kasparius doesn't pitch Tuesday and he's off Monday and he's off Tuesday, Kasparius could easily go get you 3 innings. And not to say he's built up to be a starter, but you could try and get 3 innings out of him. We've seen Jack Dreyer be a guy they try and maybe get 6 outs from. So if Kasparius and Dreyer can get you to 5, it's still going to be a bullpen game. But then Luis Garcia maybe gets you 5 outs.
Yeah.
And you sort of piece it together from there, right? So, and they've got, I'm blanking on, is it Sauer? Who don't they have? Noah Davis. Is he the guy? They have the random reliever who hasn't pitched yet back up in the league, right?
Oh, yes.
So that could be a, hey, buddy, if this game goes sideways one of these nights, we appreciate your service, Noah Davis. Enjoy the rest of your day. So, but stay tuned. I mean, we'll be doing the live post-game show, so we'll see if it's Robleski or if it's truly a bullpen game, but that's currently the plan, again, with Dustin May scheduled on Tuesday. Another 2 more games against the Cubs. 7. They'll be played the Cubs 7 times, and it'll be 2 more months until we see the Padres or the Giants. But let's get to some questions before we close this show out. Thank you to almost 2,000 people in here with us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We appreciate you. Again, if you haven't been over to YouTube, click the like button. Subscribe to join us. We're live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Me and Anthony on Tuesdays and Sundays, although this week, we're live on Wednesday, not Tuesday. And then I'll be back on Thursday with Greg Bergman of ESPN LA, who will be joining me every Thursday as well. So let's get to some questions. Here we go. David, just right in with the food question. Happy Easter, my friends. What did Jeff Spiegel and Anthony Witrado have for dinner on Easter today? My answer is going to be disappointing to you, David. We kind of didn't really we did an Easter brunch and with some family and then disappeared. We did breakfast foods. I did a breakfast burrito bar, basically, was our brunch setup. We had some fruit. We had Costco cinnamon rolls. I don't know if that's a thing nationwide, but this Costco cinnamon roll bake thing you buy in a pan is out of this world. So that was my Easter feast today, Anthony. Anything special on your plate?
No, sorry, David. Nothing crazy. Just kind of a hamburger, hot dog, kind of, barbecue on both sides of my family. So nothing super special, but it was good. Some wings and things like that. But no, nothing. We don't have like a real, we don't do anything like that we always have for Easter. It's not, it's for us, it's not so much that kind of holiday. It's just like, let's get the kids together and throw some eggs out there for them.
Love it. NS wants to know, do you like Peeps?
No.
Yeah, and for me, it's candy corn level candy, which is below candy, should not be eaten. You won't catch me eating a Peep or a candy corn. So apologies to all the people I offended on that one. Eric wants to know, why aren't the Dodgers even getting opposing pitchers' pitch counts up? Have you noticed this, Anthony?
Yeah, it's something that we have talked about on here, particularly with guys like Muncy, him being the biggest culprit, if you want to call it that, where they were having uncompetitive at bats, not grinding pitchers, not really. When they would get into like working a count or a longer at bat, it was almost where they were on the defensive because they were trying to basically fell off strikes and things like that, where the pitcher felt like he was in control, versus like a lot of times where Muncy would have those at bats, he felt like he was in control of the situation. That's starting to turn a little bit, but yeah, I agree with Eric that they have not been as good as they have been in the past at working pitch counts and getting pitchers out early.
Got it. There you go. And thank you. Somebody pointing out, Carlos pointing out that Robleski and Knack both pitched in Oklahoma City today. So good catch on that one. Neither of those guys will be available on Wednesday. Doubleheader in Oklahoma City. And both guys started those games. So there you go. Let's see. Here we go. Alleluia says, with another homer and Gold Glove plays at second, when does Kim force his way up? We had another question here, which was basically like, when are we done with Miguel Rojas? Was, I think, the second question here. So thoughts on this one? Here we go. LLM213 with the super chat. Can we get Alex Freeland to take Rojas's at bats? I'm done with Miguel Rojas. Like, he was in there at second today, and he wasn't even like playing great defense either. He almost screwed up the tag on the last play of the game, which that's a tougher one. But yeah, there was a ball up the middle. It's an infield single. He didn't get the ball over. Like, he's terrible offensively. I've been pretty crystal clear on my view of Miguel Rojas, and I hope he gets the Jason Hayward treatment at some point this season. Where are you at on Ha-Seong Kim or Alex Freeland as far as who should be the first guy up?
Man, that's a good one. The answer is shifting for me. A few weeks ago, the answer would have been Kim, but I think with Freeland, it might be a situation where they're more comfortable giving him spot starts or like a spot call up and without expecting him to play his way into the regular lineup at the big league level and being able to send him back down with no reservations. For Kim, I think this is a guy they're playing the long game with. They've said, Dave Roberts has said it. I see he's going to have 150-ish plate appearances, I think, before they even start having the conversation about what he might be able to bring to them at the major league level. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, why they want to see that. One, because I think he's a guy they don't want to shuttle back and forth. I think if they bring him up, they want to bring him up for the long haul as long as he can hold his own a little bit. And so I think part of the runway for him in Oklahoma City is they want to see him have some struggles there. He started out hot, good vibes. Okay, you go through a little bit of a funk, which he kind of had started to find one here recently. And they want to see how he reacts to that, how he handles it, how he adjusts, all of that kind of stuff. you don't want to just bring a guy up because he's been hot, who's never played in the United States before, and then give him his first taste of struggling at the major league level right out of the gate. And so I think that's why they're taking their time with him.
I like Alex Freeland a lot. He's basically a top 50 prospect everywhere you look. If you read some of the scouting reports, I think one of the places basically said his floor is a utility guy and his ceiling is an everyday shortstop. I think while I would prefer Alex Freeland, Freeland hasn't played any second base. I mean, I joke that you're a shortstop. Like, how hard could it possibly be? Like, if you're already playing shortstop, moving to second base is far easier than moving from second base to shortstop. That said, he's not playing any second base. He hasn't played much in the Dodgers system. Kim, as some people have pointed out, is at second base. So the problem is, until they cut bait with Rojas, this is sort of a moot point. In all this stuff, they've also got to figure out what they're doing with Andy Pages. Is he just a platoon guy? Is he, are they over it? And he's going to get sent down to Oklahoma City. So unfortunately, I don't think it's a Rojas conversation as much as a Pages conversation. And it doesn't seem like the Dodgers are necessarily ready to have that. For some context, Freeland, 906 OPS, and Ha-Seong Kim, an 840 OPS as of this afternoon's games. Baby steps. Question: are Frasso, Fiducia, Oki, Karros going to come back to MLB? The only Fiducia has been to major leagues. Oki and Karros, I would say 0% chance they're at the major league level. Something would have to go either terribly, terribly wrong or terribly, terribly right for those guys particular. Fiducia will be back at some point, I'm sure. He's actually crushing it. His OPS down at the minor league levels over 1,000. And Frasso's the interesting one. I think he's a long shot, but crazier things have happened. I think it would be as a reliever would be his role at some point this season is my guess. But I would bet that he might be ahead, not necessarily a better prospect, but closer to the major league level than a guy like Jackson Ferris, who's technically a higher ranked prospect. That would be my guess. I don't know if you'd add anything there, Anthony.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy who's closer. While not being as high a prospect. So I totally agree there. I think we probably end up seeing Fiducia more than like a few times this year. I think he'll probably spend with the team and then probably also be a September call-up. So I think he's going to have a decent amount of opportunity with the Dodgers. Not that they're looking for him to like take over a job or anything like that, but I just think that they're going to use him a lot more often than they use some of these other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick, by the way, if anybody saw any of the Padres games, super scary moment with Luis Arias, collision at first base. He ends up with a neck brace on and getting basically wheeled off the field. There was a report from one of the beat reporters that he was walking around in the Padres clubhouse this afternoon. So apparently he's going to stay the night in Houston. And then if he's feeling okay, join his teammates. So I know it's a Padres and we joke about hating them, but that was a scary visual. So I'm glad to hear he's okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the safety base at first debate?
No brainer to me. What's the downside?
None.
Right. So Anthony, the point, if you've ever played softball, then you know what Anthony's talking about, but just put two bags over at first base. And one of them is for the fielder and the other one is for the base runner. And so the guys aren't competing for the same, 18 inches of real estate. To me, it's a no brainer. Again, I literally can't think of a downside.
No, none. They sit side by side. One's the regular first base, and then they're kind of connected. They're joined, and the first base that the fielder puts his foot on is in fair territory, and the base that the runner is supposed to step on is in foul territory. And so it's supposed to, it's supposed to help these guys avoid colliding with each other. There is no downside. Jeff's right. It's not like it changes the game at all, really. They're both going for the same area. They just don't have to, it gives them a big cushion there. And so, and that's why they do it in other sports and, in softball. I don't know why baseball won't do it. It just feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah. And look, baseball has been flexible recently. So after something like that, who knows if I'm sure there are conversations at least happening. Let's do two more questions here. Cole says, is it too early to speak about Jack Dreyer as rookie of the year? Look, for all the crappy predictions I made at the beginning of the year, Jack Dreyer is the one guy I got right so far.
You did.
He's now the reigning dog of the week, and the jinx may have been cleared because he had two good outings since then, but he is freaking nasty, Anthony.
Yeah. He's been very good.
He won't win rookie of the year.
He won't win rookie of the year. Yeah. I agree with you there. But the Dodgers might have found another gem there. He's been really impressive.
Yeah. undrafted guy out of Iowa. I mean, crazy story. You can go check out the interview we did with him at spring training. Good dude. But for a guy in major leagues to get undrafted, then protected in Rule 5, wasn't even supposed to be up this year. And he is, I think he's still at 1 hit in his last like 13 innings pitched or something like that. So crazy, crazy stuff. Okay, Dong's got a food question. Where do you rank pickle juice as a beverage? Galco's in Highland Park has a great selection of vintage and eclectic sodas like cucumber soda and celery soda.
Interesting.
Pickle juice does not rank for me as a beverage, Anthony. It's not. It's in. It's kind of like Peeps. Peeps does not rank on my candy list, and I hate to compare pickle juice to Peeps, but it's. I'm not interested in pickle juice. It has a medical purpose, but I'm not drinking it other than for hydration reasons.
No. The only recommendation I've ever had for like pickle juice outside of, curing cramping or something like that is as a chaser for shots.
Really?
Someone, yeah. And
Why?
some bars carry it for that reason. I've never used it for that. I tend to not, I don't chase it that way. But yeah, I've heard and seen pickle juice backs for people doing shots at bars.
For hydration purposes or something? Like, hey,
no, okay, so you like a chaser.
Yeah. No, I know what a back is, but like, why the hell would you drink pickle juice?
It's supposed to clear the taste out of your mouth of the alcohol.
Don't you love that we intentionally buy things that we're like, hey, give me something to immediately take the taste of this thing I just paid for out of my mouth? Like, this is this is incredible. Pickleback. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Unbelievable. Oh, cool. Where are you on fried pickles, Anthony? It's a key question.
I'm fine with pickles. I don't hate them.
Fried pickles.
I don't love them. So a fried pickle kind of falls in the same place for me. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, if someone has one, like, hey, you want this slice of fried pickle? Sure. Or I'll be like, no, I'm good. It doesn't rank high or low for me.
I'm all in on fried pickles. A completely underrated food, appetizer, whatever you want to call it, snack. If you get, I like the fried pickle, like the rings, not the full on. Some places do the full spear. That's not my jam, but holy smokes, fried pickles dipped in a little ranch dressing. Come on now.
When I was a kid, I remember like one of my go-to snacks would be walk into the fridge and pop the pickle jar.
Yeah.
And just reach in and grab a pickle and just walk around eating it.
Now, so Costco's, I'm blanking on the brand, but Costco's got this like sort of fancy brand of pickles that comes in a huge tub. And it's like dill everywhere in there, whatever. I don't fully know what's going on. It's not a jar. Have you tried these?
I have not, no. I haven't eaten a pickle like that, like I was saying, like how I would when I was a kid, since I was a kid.
Grillo's pickles is some people are that. So there you go. No cheese on your fried pickle, Jeff. No, it's fine. Cheese. Look, I threw cheese in my, on my eggs this morning. Cheese in a breakfast burrito is fine. So, we're good there. We're good. There we go. Kenny knows about Grillo's. Yeah, fried pickles is amazing. If you haven't tried it, have you done fried cheese curds before?
Man, I used to live in Wisconsin. Yes.
Fried cheese curds are the real. I mean, you get good ones where the cheese, they're like little mini mozzarella stick bites, basically.
They take plenty of pride in their cheese curds in Wisconsin, in every part of the state. Like, you go to places with populations of like 12, and there's a sign on the city entrance that says best cheese curds in the world. Like, they're in every restaurant. Yeah. Like fancy, hole in the wall, whatever. They're everywhere.
Are you? Some people are asking pickles on your In-N-Out burger. I get animal style, and I ask them to take the pickles off.
I don't get pickles on my burgers.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, last one. Aaron wants to know Lakers game 2 prediction. They got to win, right?
Must win for them. I think they'll win. I don't think they'll blow them out. Maybe some free throws down the stretch make the score a little more than it actually is. But I think it's probably a close game for the most part. But I do think the Lakers will win this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Why'd someone say I got banned from Wisconsin? Oh, because of my cheese take. I got banned from Wisconsin, I guess. I love cheese curds. I'm all in on fries cheese curds. I'm all in on cheese. This is fake news. People are spreading fake news. So there we go. David says lock the Lakers win on Tuesday. Hopefully he's right. So again, the Lakers play Tuesday night. go to Lakers Nation, not Dodger Blue, on Tuesday night. Go watch the live watch along on Playback and on YouTube, and then watch the post-game show with Trevor on the Lakers Nation YouTube page. And then Anthony and I will be back here on Wednesday. Greg Bergman and I will be back here on Thursday, and we will go from there. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Over 2,000 people in here. If you're new, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Tons of content coming at you throughout the week. You do not want to miss that. Check out DodgerBlue.com for all the latest. That is Anthony Witrado. I am Jeff Spiegel. The Dodgers win today. They've won 5 out of 6. They're a half game out of first, second best record in Major League Baseball. Enjoy the rest of your night. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still champs.